vetch. So vetch is a nitrogen fixer, and it feeds the soil. And I'll show you lots of plants today that are in the legume family, in the same family. Okay, now we're gonna keep moving forward. This little tiny thing is a very invasive. You definitely want to pull it out of your garden. This is wild morning glory, though. It is pretty, has a beautiful trumpet flower, super cute. It's white or pink, but it's going to take over. So actually that's got to go. And then these are about to be coreopsis. This is about to fill this whole space with these dynamic, beautiful yellow, golden, and orange flowers that like light up your life and light up your day. That's what this is too. Let's see. Oh, look, she broke. This right here is the beginning parts of a valerian. This plant is going to grow like 4 to 6 feet tall. It is incredibly gorgeous, and the flowers are these white umbrella flowers, and they smell so delicious. I know you think of valerian and think that it stinks, and it's true, the root does, but the flowers are amazing. And I made a whole video about the properties of valerian that you can check out on our Birth Song Botanicals YouTube channel, so I'm not going to spend too much time, but this is a panacea herb, and it's really great right now to help you sleep, to help ease nervous tension, to help calm your stomach, to just help you feel peace and calm and relaxed. Okay, this is a wild garlic. We're just going to kind of cruise through here because just little things are kind of popping up. Here's another little echinacea. I'm really happy to see how much little echinacea is popping up because I only planted it really over there, but now it's over here too. And some more vetch, and then some ground cover. I don't know all these names. This is dead nettle. We'll spend time talking about dead nettle. Little peppermints are popping up, and I'll show you more peppermint. And then this guy right here, this sweet little one, is this is skullcap. It's called Scutellera. Skullcap is gonna just grow really nice and tall and have these purple blooms, and it really spreads well because I planted it actually over here on the other side, but here it is. And skullcap is very relaxing and soothing. It's a nervine in the same classification of herbs as valerian. So it's almost really sedate. It's not super sedating, but it is very relaxing, help you sleep. And then when we move over here, see, here's some more spiderwort. And these are all volunteer. Every spiderwort in this bed is a volunteer. I did not plant the spiderwort. But what I did plant years ago, this is yarrow. And yarrow is one of my favorite plants. I've made many videos in which I talk about yarrow. And so we can spend time, you can watch those videos, but essentially when you think of yarrow, think of it as a wound healer. It is known to be for soldiers back in the day, back in the Civil War, they would have pockets full of yarrow. So when they had a wound, they would pack the wound. Yarrow, you can pick it, and then you can chew it up, and then you can put it on any rash or sting or bite. It'll help heal it. Yarrow is incredibly powerful antiseptic, like it will help prevent an infection, and it's a cell proliferator, so it'll help close the infection. And then when you're gonna dry it out, typically you dry out the flowers because the flowers will last longer than the leaves will. But when you're just like picking it fresh, you can utilize both the leaves and the flower to use topically or internally for wounds, infections, and fevers. This is one of my favorite plants. We incorporate it in a lot of our products. And see here, right here, this plant is volunteering right here in the middle of yarrow, and so I'm going to actually pull it out because honestly I really value this yarrow plant. This was from, I wildcrafted this on Markham Hill. So this plant is probably at least 10 years old. And here's the thing about this plant. I planted it over there and it moved over here, right? Because things like this are getting in its way, and so it moved over. And another thing about yarrow is such a giving plant. It is a life-saving plant. It has been revered for centuries. The only thing about yarrow though, yarrow emits a chemical within its root system that makes it so it can't grow in a single place for very long. So if it doesn't have a place to move, this patch will just go away. It'll just die away. So actually, as a steward of yarrow, it's my responsibility to take some of this yarrow and put it somewhere else in my yard so it'll survive. So it can't, don't expect it to stay in the same place. And if it dies, you didn't do anything wrong. It does it on its own. So when you have yarrow, every couple of years, move some of it somewhere else. Oh, this is Star of Bethlehem, this invader. A lot of people think of it as an invader. It's so beautiful. It'll like close up at night and then open up in the morning. Just so beautiful. It has really shallow bulbs, so it's easy to pull out if you did need to move it. The thing is, it's poison, so don't eat it. And the thing, even though it's poison, if you've heard of Bach flower remedies, they make a wonderful flower remedy called Rescue Remedy. And Rescue Remedy is one of the remedies that's really great for shock and sudden fright and sudden startledness when you're unable to like function, because you've, like in my midwifery practice, we utilized it a lot, especially postpartum after a woman just bled a lot and we need to like stabilize her, or she's really afraid and we need to stabilize her. Then Rescue Remedy is what we would give her. It was like the best one to give her, and it was safe for babies. And it's also really good for pets, like when your pets are like freaking out because of a storm or something and they're really afraid and you need to calm them down. A couple drops of Rescue Remedy is made from this plant. But don't eat this plant. This plant is poison. Let's see what else. This is a sedum, and this is a salvia. It's gonna have really pretty purple flowers. It's in the sage family. Apparently, back in the day, the myth is that there was a plant god, and the plant god asked for help, and asked for help from the roses, and it asked for help from the lilacs, and they didn't help the plant god. But salvia was like, okay, I'll help you. What do you need? And then it's like, oh, I need you to like heal. And so since the rose didn't help, it was suddenly was filled with thorns. And then since the lilac didn't help, suddenly it smelt terrible. Which if you've ever smelt my lilac, you would completely disagree. But the salvia, since it helped the plant god, it has an infinite number of healing properties. And so salvia is in the sage family, and we'll see another sage. And you know how wonderful and cooling and healing and purifying and protecting and spiritual the sages are. So this is in that family. What I'm scooching out of the way is chickweed. I literally have been eating chickweed for the last 3 weeks every day. Even though it's like now it's all this spindly stuff, I still eat it. It's real easy to eat. Chickweed is really cooling and fresh and cleansing. And it's like, even though it's so tender and fragile, it's one of the first plants up. It really likes the cold weather. It's also called a refrigerant because it's so cold. You can make a poultice of it and put it on something hot. It's good at pulling out boils. It's good at pulling out like abscesses and inflammation and hemorrhoids and anything hot, red. Chickweed's good for that topically, so a lot of people put it in salve. And then honestly, I just eat it. I just eat it, eat it, eat it. I also eat this right here. This is purple dead nettle. Oh, and then this one right here, right next to it, this is henbit. They look really similar. I eat this too every day. Until it's gone, right? And it's about to be gone pretty soon. Let's see what else we have. Let's go. Hey, let's go around here. Oh my gosh, there have been like 6 or 7 airplanes flying overhead. So this bed really is just overgrown. It actually gets really shady in the summer. So this is vinca, or this is also called periwinkle. So periwinkle isn't edible, but this plant is medicinal. I actually have never used it personally in medicine, but it's for bleeding and miscarriage, it's bleeding, menstrual blood. So read about it though, because some people will say it's a little bit too poisonous, and if you take too much you'll start vomiting. Other people say it's the perfect plant. Ooh, look, I see something growing on there. That's probably not good. those bugs. Okay, tons more spiderwort, irises. Back in the day, these irises were just back here. Now look how much they filled up. But this is the plant I did want to highlight. This is Solomon seal, and this I harvested, wildcrafted in Markham Hill. So I know that this patch is about 20 years old. And I think of some plants as elder plants. There's plants you just don't pick, you just don't use, right? Because they're elders. When you think of like, really, we totally over harvest ginseng. We totally over harvest golden seal, right? Those are elder plants of the forest. They should be left in the forest. Solomon seal is one of those plants. It's an elder plant that should be left in the forest. Even though it's good medicine, it's really good medicine because it's really good for your tendons. So if you have like muscle skeletal problems, like you broke a leg, or you pulled out your back, or you tore a ligament, or you pulled a tendon, this is going to be really good for that sort of pain and that sort of recovery. And you would utilize the roots of it. And these roots kind of grow, you can actually kind of see one of the roots right here. They grow in this like really gnarled mass. And it's almost just like how there's so much tension and pain in a tight, torn ligament. It's like a gnarled mass. And so the theory is that it moves energy through your body through gnarled masses to help it like recover. And this is really nice because see, it's popping up over here and popping up over here. So my patch is growing because it's all the way over here now too. And it was much smaller. Although, yeah, it's right now it seems really sunny, but once these redbud trees bloom, this will be really shady and it's gonna like it. This is kind of a weird bed because I always think it's sunny, so I put stuff in and then a couple weeks later it's just really shady. So now I got a little wiser, and so we're starting to put some ferns in here. And there's some little baby ferns coming, and I'll want to fill it up with, I don't know, more ferns or some trillium or maybe some violets. Okay, over here. Oh, if you want an herb book, if you want to learn about the like the myths and the legends and the history, this is so much fun to read. This is one of the best. It's clever, witty, insightful, sweet book, and it's all about just like all the just random plants that most people don't appreciate, and then they make you fall in love with them. Must read book. Okay, so this whole patch over here is like a complete volunteer. That's all lemon balm. And then this is like sedum, and it's a real hot day today, and we haven't been having hot, sunny hot, and so all the plants are starting to wilt a little bit. This is a sedum, and then this is thyme. Right now it's time for us to be thinking about thyme, drinking thyme, cooking with thyme, growing with thyme. It's all about lung health, lung support, antibacterial, antimicrobial, antifungal, super powerful protector, infection fighter, clear out your lungs, keep you healthy, have good bowel movements, the whole deal. Thyme is like, should be on your radar and should be in your diet and in your teas and in your food every day right now, especially right now. And then this is a bunch of lemon balm here. I've made a lot of videos about lemon balm. Lemon balm is like such a joyful herb. It's relaxing, yet it's uplifting. It smells divine. Easy to grow, obviously. Makes you think you're a good gardener when you grow lemon balm. Lemon balm's another huge patch. One thing I guess I would say about lemon balm and harvesting, like right now, this is good. Like I want to harvest this actually. I think, I've been thinking about this because what I usually do is I harvest a little from here and a little from here and a little from there and a little from over there. But I think what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to just like pick a patch and harvest like the vast majority of it. Just that one patch, right? So the whole thing gets cut down or harvested at once, and then the whole thing grows back at once. And then the whole thing and this whole plant gets harvested at once, and then a whole grows back at once. And I think I'll get harvest out of it that way. I'm going to experiment. That's what I think I'm going to do this year. What else is growing here? Right here, this is sage. This is like common garden sage. And so there's some, it's one of those salvias, and it's one of those healing medicinal ones. This is what I usually cook with. Sage is really drying, so when you have a lot of lung congestion or wet or mucus or snot or just damp, moist conditions, sage is really helpful for that. Sage is really cooling when you have hot flashes or fevers, and it's really antimicrobial, disinfectant, and so if you have any infection that's causing all your lung congestion, right? And so it's starting to come back pretty good. I think this will actually be a nice big plant. What else? This is the mother of the garden. She's really beautiful. This right here, this is rue, or ruda. It's high in a bioflavonoid called rutin, which is really good for your, rutin is good for your cardiovascular health and your vessels, your blood vessels. Ruda is an incredibly spiritual plant. So like when you go to like Mexico or Central America and you have an experience with a curandera or a shaman or something, and they do this practice called a limpia, where they clean you and they like take a bunch of it and they essentially like brush you off like it's a broom or a brush, and they're brushing off all this negativity and all this stagnant energy and all your fears and all your pains and whatever you're going through. And so this is a really spiritually protective plant. It's really strong, actually. It's a very activating plant. So if I were to rub it a bunch, some people would be sensitive to it and your hands would get red. Maybe you would drink it and you'd get a little hot, maybe sweaty. So it's this activating, warming, hot, purging. If you drink a bunch of it, you're gonna like be a medic, you're gonna vomit. It's gonna clean you. So this is ruda, or rue. This is a redbud tree that needs to get removed. And then this is a lavender. I had 2 species of lavender, but I don't think this one's coming back. I think this is gone, so I feel sad about that. But this is pretty massive, and I hardly ever harvest any of the flowers. And so this year I'm gonna do that. I'm going to harvest some of the flowers. This thing fills up, and then all the bumblebees come here. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Ruda is, if you want to have butterflies, you want to plant rue, and you got to let those big old green butterflies that eat half your plant, they'll grow here, right? And then you'll have all these monarch butterflies coming. So this is a butterfly. Butterflies love this. Bees love this, and they love all this good stuff here too. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, this is a juniper, evergreen. This right here is lamb's ear, and it's super soft and fuzzy, and it's gonna grow little purple flowers, and it's real friendly. It seems like it's good to have like in kids' gardens, and it's a good little border. It tends to see how it travels a little bit. Like I should probably take this piece and put it somewhere else on a border somewhere and like create a new patch. This one I've been touching but haven't really explained yet. I don't know too much of the properties about it, but this is a plant that's a wild plant that's in the geranium family. But it doesn't smell sweet and lovely like a geranium, but this is a wild geranium. Let's go down here. Okay, yeah, we can just go down here. Here's some sedums. These are azalea bushes, evergreen azalea bushes. Right here in this wild little patch, you see how this is fuzzy? So I introduced you earlier to chickweed and said like how cooling and how great it was. So there are several plants that call themselves chickweed. This is a chickweed too, even though, see, its stem is dark. The other one was really light, and this is fuzzy. This is called mouse ear chickweed. So it's a variation of the chickweed. And then this one right here, this one is I don't know its name exactly, but it's in the buttercup family. And I'll show you some more plants in the buttercup family. But buttercups, they're actually poisonous. So what a sweet little name, buttercup, but actually don't eat this. Okay, let's cruise on over here. Not much to totally see, except for Here's a bunch of peppermint coming. And then here's some skullcap. See, this is where I planted the skullcap, but then it leaped over there to the other side. Not too far, but seeds travel all over the world, so I shouldn't be surprised that it traveled across the path. This one right here is going to grow into a big, beautiful plant. This is Artemisia. This is wormwood. Wormwood is in one of those categories, classifications, kind of like rue, is one of those like spiritual plants, cleansing, real protective. Wormwood is good at purging your body from parasites. It really helps protect you against parasites. Smell. Yeah, let's just keep cruising. Here's some more echinaceas, which I didn't plant here either. I'm excited about that. Inside here, hopefully they come back, is a bunch of butterfly weed, milkweed. And this right here is wild ginger. Wild ginger you can utilize like normal cultivated ginger. This is wild, the roots are smaller, but you can utilize the roots. It's really warming and stimulating, good for digestion, good for muscle cramps and uterine cramps. And spicy and tastes good. Then it comes up in the spring. Actually, this ginger likes it right here in the spring, but this is not the best place for me to plant it because this is really sunny right here. And ginger wants to be in the shade and the forested and cover. It probably wants to be over there next to the Solomon seal. Actually, if I were to do it right, I would put it over there by those ferns. Right? A couple others just real quick. This is called dragon's blood. I really like dragons. And this is called dragon's blood. And then this is another sedum. And let me show you a little of this and then we'll walk around the yard, okay? Okay. Oh, I do, look at this. This is my plant ally, my plant ally, and so I'm gonna ask you, put it in the comments, what's your plant ally? And so this is peppermint, and so it's growing here, boom, and it's growing all the way over by the stairs. This whole place is about to be filled with peppermint. I mean, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with so much peppermint. I'm gonna share it with you. I need to start maybe sharing some peppermint plants. And this is a hosta. This plant right here, I have only seen one of them in my yard. So it brought my attention. You know, we've been on quarantine. I haven't left my yard in like 3 weeks, so I've been hanging out and not cutting the grass, but looking to see what's growing in it. So this right here is everlasting. And so everlasting isn't necessarily an apothecary herb. It's a garden herb, but why people love everlasting is because, and why it gets its name, is because as a dried plant, it'll hold its form. Like a lot of the other plants, when you dry it, you know, they don't stay true to their form. But this one will stay true to its form. And so before we had artificial plants and silk plants, people would really want these in their garden so that they could have wreaths and decorations and plants inside. So one thing, I have a small patch of it right here. Oh, there's two plants right here. So one thing I want to say, so chickweed, remember we mentioned chickweed? It's really cooling. This one right here is marshmallow, wild marshmallow root. And marshmallow root is really emollient and soothing and moist and wet and cooling. So if you have a hot, dry sore throat or hot, dry rash or hot inflammation or hot burning diarrhea, marshmallow root is really soothing for that, right? We utilize a domesticated form of marshmallow root in our Let There Be Milk because marshmallow root is thick and it helps make fatty breast milk. So it's going to be real thick and not creamy, but like mucusy. This right here looks like clover, but this is actually wood sorrel and it tastes like lemon. It's a really lovely plant. So when this is not, you know, it's getting old now, so I wouldn't eat this one, but if you were to eat some dead nettle and some chickweed and some sorrel, that would taste great. Let's receive volunteer lemon balm. This right here is a yucca. This is the plant of El Salvador. So when I have my Salvadoranian clients come, they see this plant, they're like, oh my gosh. And then we come over here and we take our picture in front of the yucca. They love it. And this yucca plant, it's like called Spanish tongue or devil's tongue. It's really sharp, or Spanish sword. It's really sharp and pointy, and then it's going to grow up tall. It's going to have a spindle, and then it's going to have all these white flowers, creamy white flowers around it, and you can eat those flowers. You fry them with eggs. The bees love it too. The thing about yucca, I want to compare it to another plant that's really close to here. But yucca, when this stalk dries, it becomes like really dry but still sturdy, and it's a wonderful resource if you're ever needing to make a bow drill fire. Like if you ever have to make a friction fire, anytime I've been successful using a bow drill and making a fire, it's always been with a yucca stalk. So to me, I think it's the one that works the best. So yucca. So it's food, and it can help you build a fire. Let's see. Pen bit. And I'll get back to this one. But this right here, this is mullein. And so the reason I want to share it right after the yucca is because it's going to make a rosette, and it's going to grow really tall, and it's going to have a stalk. And around the stalk, it's also going to have a bunch of flowers. And these flowers for the mullein are going to be really good for your ears. But this stalk, once it's dried, people used to use it to make fires also, and they would use it as a torch. Like they would carry it around, and it would be their torch, or it would be a candle. The leaves are obviously very soft and smooth, and these leaves can grow really big, right? And these leaves, they used to put them in your shoes to keep your feet warm and like comfortable padding. And then women would also take the leaves and rub it on their face, and it would help like give them rosy cheeks and brighten up their face. It was cosmetic. But these leaves, mullein, when you think of mullein, you always think of mullein as a lung herb and an ear herb. So you can drink the leaves as a tea. They can be fresh, it can be dried. Or you drink it as a decoction. But you can also smoke mullein. I guess I'm not supposed to recommend that you smoke anything, but smoking mullein is an expectorant, and it helps clean out. If you have a lot of lung mucus and congestion, and you have a lot of pain in your throat, mullein is really good for relieving the pain and getting rid of the congestion. We have it in our lung support tea. Mullein can help dry up breast milk. So whatever you have that's wet, mullein can help dry it up. And then when it grows tall, it can have those yellow flowers, and those yellow flowers are what you harvest to put into your ear oil. And then if you were to do it out wild crafting, you would blend those flowers in with this wild garlic right here. So this one right here is wild garlic, and so the antibiotic properties of the wild garlic with the mullein flowers would make a nice ear oil to help fight an infection in your ears. So mullein is like a biannual. So the first year you're just going to have the rosette, and the next year you'll have the flowers. And just like all these other plants I talk about, they move around a lot, because I didn't have a mullein here last year. I had a mullein over here last year, and it's not here now, and so now it's over here. So they hang out in a region, but they travel. Yeah, there's so much more I want to share about these guys, but I can kind of share about them on the other side, maybe. Okay. Just real quick before we go to the other side. So this right here, these are two different varieties of comfrey. This comfrey is one of the comfreys that I brought with me from my old house, and I thought I was about to lose it, and I actually did it a good solid by moving it right here, because I had it over there and it was too shady and it wasn't growing, and now it's like huge. It's going to be huge. And so comfrey is a wound healer. It's called wound knit or bone knit. It's high in a chemical called allantoin, and allantoin just really puts two broken things back together. There's a challenge with comfrey though, something you should know about. There's a lot of controversy. Some people say never drink it internally. Other people say, of course, drink it. But there's a prolyzoic acid that might be damaging to liver. So if you have liver damage, please don't drink it. But if you don't have liver damage, I don't know. Do your research. But comfrey has one thing that I really do think you should know about. It is such a powerful healer, wound healer, but it is not a disinfectant, right? So what can happen is, I'm going to show you my hands real quick. Imagine you have a wound that's like a wound that's gaping open, right? And you don't want there to be an infection. And what happens if you just had comfrey in it? What would happen is it would work really quickly and it would appear to like it healed it, because it would make these cells on top close. But then what happens is it leaves this space inside, right? And that space inside becomes a portal for infection. And so it can be infected deep inside. So you need to put comfrey with something like yarrow or echinacea or golden seal or garlic or some thyme, some other really powerful infection fighter. And, or you can also, yes, you should do that, or you time it so that you get it mainly healed and then put comfrey on, and so it closes it up. But comfrey on a deep wound should not be used by itself, because it's going to close the surface and not the whole wound, right? Yeah, comfrey. Oh, here's red clover, and I had red clover up in the front that I was going to share with you, and I might have a white, oh, perfect, because here's a red clover, and then right behind you, Heaven, is a white clover. Okay, so, right here. So, red and white clover, they're similar, they're in the same family, they're both really nourishing, but red clover, this other one over there, has these beautiful red flowers. It's going to grow tall, and it's really high on bioflavonoids and phytoestrogens, and it is going to be really good for menopausal symptoms and has a lot of medicinal value, whereas the white one, not as much. The white one is more for nourishment, and it's going to have little white flowers on it, and they're still super healthy and super high in vitamin A, C, E, D, A, K, all the vitamins. It's just that this one is considered more medicinal, particularly for women. And it's really good for lung, once again, we're in the coronavirus situation. This is really good for clearing out lung health. We actually put it in our children's daily immune because I developed that product for a girl that had chronic lung conditions. And so we put red clover in there to keep her lungs healthy. Okay, let's go. Oh my gosh, so you want to walk around the yard now? Now we can take the scenic route. Oh my goodness. Oh look, here is one of those vetches and that are blooming, right? So if I had this blooming in my garden, I would probably want to start to pull it out as soon as it starts to do a seed pod. We'll keep going. Let's kind of get over here a little bit. Oh, here, right here. This is a short-haired pine. Whoa. And so I've been drinking this. This has been my favorite tea lately. I've been drinking this pine needles, and then with this wild garlic. You'd be surprised. It tastes amazing. Pine needles and wild garlic. Tastes amazing. And then this right here, it's kind of gone to seed now, so it's not that great of a specimen. But this is called bittercrest. It's one of the first plants, and when it starts growing in the spring, it looks a lot like chickweed. At first you're like, oh, that's chickweed. But it's not, it's bittercrest. And it tastes really bitter, like arugula. So it tastes really nice with the garlic and the pine. Like, they just grow together, they complement each other well. Pine is high in vitamin C. It's really good for your blood vessels and your immune system. And you're probably not going to run out of it. I mean, it's a pretty massive tree. Thought I saw some. Okay, over here. I have several elderberries in my yard, but I can only show you these because we're on the internet. Oh, maybe I can show you in the creek. But this is a Sambucus nigra, right? So this whole plant is going to grow up hopefully into one big bush. And Sambucus nigra is the elderberry that's like the hot topic right now for the coronavirus. So it is really great for lung health and immune health, and it's an antiviral. The thing about elderberry to know about, I've made a whole bunch of videos about it, so I'm not going to go in too much detail, but I will say that the leaves are poisonous. And then it's going to make these beautiful flowers. Oh my gosh, and they're going to smell amazing. Those flowers are medicinal and edible, and they're wonderful in jellies and teas and jams and perfumes and just wonderful. And then it's going to make a green berry, which is poisonous. And then it's going to ripen, and then it's going to be medicine again. Right? So when you think you know one part of the plant, you really don't know it all until you start to really learn all the aspects of the plant. So elderberry is one of my favorites. This was a gift to me from Meg, who is an apprentice midwife, and soon she'll be a midwife in her own right, and I'm really proud of her. And look, so I'm assuming she's growing just like this, because this was tiny and I thought I lost it, but look, it's coming back. Okay. Couple cool things right here. This right here is wild honeysuckle vine, not to be confused with honeysuckle bush, right? The vine is going to make flowers soon, and the vine is going to smell divine, these flowers. They're like intoxicating, luring you out of your house to go smell them. But the flowers on the vine are what you make medicine. You either put it in honey or water and glycerin, and you can make a cough syrup. It's really good for lung congestion and cough. And it smells great and tastes great. So honeysuckle vine. Oh my goodness. What? Let's just do this one. Hey Echo, we're gonna do this one. So this right here is probably Queen Anne's lace. Like, although what I'm trying to say is, if you don't know what it is, don't harvest it. Queen Anne's lace is going to grow up tall, and it's going to have a white umbrella, and there'll be a red jewel in the crown, right? And then that is a medicinal plant, and you can actually pull it up, and underneath there's like a carrot, and you can eat that carrot. This is in the carrot family. However, right down the hill from me, I know for sure there's a plant that looks almost just like this, but it is called poison hemlock, and it is poisonous, right? The most poisonous of poison hemlock grow in really high mountains and really high altitudes, like in the Alps and in the Colorado and the Rocky Mountains and stuff. So I don't know if that patch will totally kill you like it did Socrates, but the point is, if you don't know what it is, please don't harvest it. I'm pretty solid it's Queen Anne's lace, but could be. Okay. What else? Okay, right here. This is a wild cherry. It's called a rock cherry or a choke cherry. And wild cherry bark is like anciently known, revered forever for lung support, cough support. The thing about wild cherry bark is it tends to suppress coughs. So if you have a really unproductive cough, then you would want to maybe suppress it, or if it's like late at night and you need to sleep, you might want to suppress it. We made some videos about wild cherry on the YouTube channel. If you wanted to wild harvest the wild cherry bark, you wouldn't just like take this. You would ideally find one, a fallen branch on the ground, and then you would harvest it that way, so you can preserve the cherry. You know it's a cherry because that I've seen the cherries on here, but it has the bark has a pattern like where it's making circles around or rings around. You can see this pattern on the bark. That's a real clear, shiny, really clearly a cherry. Okay, so and then wild cherries, these are like, they're a little bit bitter. Like when you eat them, you're like, woo! And it's like primarily the pit with a little bit of pulp around it, but they are pretty lovely. Okay, let's see. What do we have right here? I'm gonna look for it. It's somewhere close to here. It's called Cinquefolia. Where I flagged it yesterday. Oh my goodness. Well, where did you go? You're right. Here it is. So this right here is Cinquefolium. It's called Cinquefolium because see, it's got 5. It looks just like your hand. So you're like, hey, give me a high five. So sometimes this is called high five plant. There are like 300 species of this plant, and it's going to have a cute little yellow flower. But this plant is really, in terms of medicine, is all about astringent. So think about it like witch hazel or bayberry. The tannins in the plant will help dry up wet tissue. So it's good for hemorrhoids, diarrhea, wet conditions, right? So this is what Cinquefolium looks like. And it's going to grow a little bit bigger, a little bit taller. So in terms of drying up wet things and tannins, another real astringent plant actually is this oak tree. You can go down to the oak tree. So the oak tree, particularly a white oak, although I'm not exactly sure what species of oak this is, but the inner bark, not the outer bark, but the inner bark of the oak, that's really medicinal for washing wounds and for drying out infected, pussy wounds. Plus, if you're willing to do the work, there's a bunch of acorns, and so there's food. And it's a great resource in terms of heat. Oh, maybe that one, we'll find a better one. I don't know. I don't really know much about this plant right here, but this plant is called White Avens. It's going to have a white flower on it. I don't know about its medicinal value. I think it's just like a garden herb, not an apothecary herb. But that's White Avens. Oh, here, I thought, here's some wild violets. And, oh, here. These little guys, see this little purple guy right here? And see how this is a wild pansy? And see how this wild pansy, the plant, even though it's more delicate and thinner and smaller, it looks a lot like that pansy that was domesticated and cultivated in my garden. Okay, so we have a low battery. So let's just go real quick over here. This right here is, this is gooseberry. This is gooseberry, so this is food. This right here, okay, you should be really mindful of this. A hairy vine is no friend of mine. This is poison ivy. This is a major, huge plant. See, this is poison ivy. You have to show a lot of respect when you're going around poison ivy. It will get you. So you have to ask permission, like, sweet, powerful poison ivy, I respect you and honor you. May I please pass? Okay? But this right here, this is grape. So this is a grapevine growing with the poison ivy vine. So if I had grapes growing right here, should I harvest it? No. This right here is in another plant in the buttercup family. And this is poisonous. So all the plants in the buttercup family, they're really beautiful. And they look super cute and they look kind of benign and sweet. But this is really kind of irritating and toxic, and do not drink it. Poison. Oh, these sweet little blue eyes, these are called a bird's eye. And they're some of the first plants in the spring. And then this is white clover. And here's a dandelion. I'll share more with you about dandelion. And since we're a low battery, I'll probably just have to kind of stop here pretty soon. This right here is a dock. So this is very nourishing, and I eat this food all the time. It's high in iron, high in potassium, grows pretty well. You can eat the roots, but I just tend to eat the leaves. And then when you go over here, all these, see, this used to be where I practiced Tai Chi all the time, but then all the violets popped up. And so I stopped practicing Tai Chi here to protect them. But we should talk about dandelion now, since we're talking about Tai Chi anyways. So, what am I saying? Dandelions, Diente de Leon, it gets its name because of, see how the leaf is serrated? Really, it's all medicine, it's all food, the root, the leaves, the flowers. You can make dandelion wine, you can make dandelion beer. The leaves are really, you know, they're really cleansing and detoxifying and good for your liver and internal organs and kidneys. The root is also, there are some look-alike plants, and you can tell that it's a dandelion when it has that red color down at the base, that red color right there. Dandelions are really cute to me because they'll close up at night, and then in the morning they'll open up, and wherever the sun goes they'll turn and track the sun. And they've been revered for centuries. It's just pretty much only us in the United States that we're like, oh my gosh, we need to get rid of it. We just really don't understand how useful and how medicinal and how healing. And so there's something to be said about the plants that grow all around you and proficiency, and they seem to be weeds, and you're like, oh my gosh, can you just like go out of your way? But they're really giving you a message saying that I'm important and I'm telling you something. So it's telling you that you can utilize it, saying I'm totally available. I'm available, that's funny. And then it's also telling you that the quality of the soil is probably pretty acidic. And so there are a few dandelions here, but like up on the back of the house, there's so many dandelions that you would know, like that's not the best place to plant your food garden because it's not going to have the nourishment. And so it's feeding. And how much more time do we have? What else do we have?
Not much.
I think our battery's about to run out. And so I think we're just going to have to say thank you and goodbye. And I appreciate all of you. And I want to see the pictures of the plants in your yard. If we do it again, I would talk to you about some other ones. I have some other cool plants in the back. Okay, well, until next time, walk in beauty.